So I just got done kind of rinsing off Big Bad John, and one of the things I like to do after I do that is I re-greased him. So on some of these, it's looking like I might need to clean some old grease out because of that right there. So got the old grease in there, popped in some new stuff, and it starts to come off in sheets like this. And that one's, I think, the worst one right there. So that needs to happen. Not all of them are like that. So I got this guy right here. Whoop. A little bit of grease, not too much. Most of it's new. Definitely are some different usage points on my loader. There we go. I'll pop that off because that's going to go out anyway. So, and particularly these ones right next to the ground here, they pick up sticks and dust and various other things that probably go very poorly with grease. Tom! That seems to be his "I'm happy because I'm eating fresh grass" honk. Pretty normal. That's kind of weird. I don't... Oh, okay, so I guess I have a little spring right there. That's kind of weird. I don't know. Never noticed that before, but, you know, I notice something new about the tractor almost every time I look at it. Wow. When those Muscovies take off, it is not like a little bird just took off. They are compact birds, and I say that meaning that they're very heavy for their apparent size. So, yeah, you know, I just rinsed them off and, of course, walked on the pad with dirty shoes, so it immediately, the station floor pretty much stays dirty. There's almost nothing I can do about it except for never get back on it after I wash it or rinse it. Actually, I haven't washed it in a while, as you can tell, but yeah, like keeping him at least somewhat clean. Oof, man. So it would appear as though our tires are doing pretty good. Hey, quit making scary chicken sounds. You're gonna freak somebody out like me. But yeah, you know, it's even the corresponding point on the other side ends up working differently. And I put about the same amount of grease in each side, assuming that the same number of pumps is the same amount of grease, which is probably false, but fairly close. And it's really funny, whenever I put some in, and I don't want to get grease all over my tractor here. There we go. It pushes the thing side to side a little bit a lot of times. Yeah, I'm going to have to take the pressure washer after the tractor here. I can already tell. Because once you get grease on it, it repels water and soap until you actually, like, take a sponge to it, pretty much. So I'm going to have to wipe this off on a towel. Because I definitely don't want this going down the sink in my wife's kitchen, because I maintain that sink. But, yeah. Still having a great time with Big Bad John. Doesn't that look like I would tap that going in? It really, really looks like that, but I never do. I'm pretty lucky. But, yeah, I like leaving the ROPS up at all times, unless I'm trying to go to my garage. I just don't want to die on Big Bad John that bad, and I always wear my seatbelt, and I always have the ROPS up, and if I get off the darn thing, I've always got the brake on. I think probably doing those three things will save you a lot of heartache in the event that something retarded happens, and there's always room for stupid stuff to occur whenever you're playing with something that's this much heavier than you are. As I have said several times, the dry weight on this tractor is like 2,400 pounds. I think it's almost 2,500 actually. And then, you know, you fill your back tires full of water. I still haven't picked up my weights. I guess the foundry hasn't shipped since slightly before I asked for some weights at my local dealer. And so we're still waiting around for that, even though I've got the rack for it. And I think I told them I wanted two 70-pounders. Or was it 200 pounders? No, I think 70 is kind of like the sweet spot. I feel like that's what I would have ordered. But one thing that I have kind of noticed with Big Bad John, and I may take a Media Blaster with that thing too, is I've noticed I'm starting to get rust. You know, rust on the bucket is fine. I can replace a bucket, and a bucket is probably a consumable piece. But this isn't the bucket. That's the shoe, I want to say, that actually attaches to the bucket. So this is the little ear that comes off, and then that's the piece that's the front piece for your loader. I have no idea how I even scraped away the powder coat right there. Can you focus, you piece of garbage phone? There he goes. But as you can see, it's pretty nicked up there. And there's a couple other spaces on here where I've noticed rust, which is just like blowing my mind because it's not a part of the tractor that regularly touches anything else. This is my fault right there. That's my fault. It actually looks a lot worse than it did while it was happening. It was just this really thin metal that I was scooping with a bucket, and it sprang back on me, and it just gouged the powder coat. I probably should go down to my dealership and pick up a can of spray paint and fix that, because that is on a cylinder, and I don't want any trouble with those down the road. So that's probably gonna happen the next time I go down to my dealership. But then you have areas like this guy right here when I'm wondering if maybe I should be throwing grease on, because that's a pivot point that I believe is attached directly to my tractor. But there is no grease point on it, which is really weird. I mean, there's a grease point, but it's back here. But here's this thing, and there's nothing there. Maybe I'm missing a grease point? I don't know, but it's showing some wear. It actually is going through the powder coating, and it looks like it's actually wearing the steel down. So maybe I should look into something there too, or just wax. I mean, who knows? I guess you could grease anything you wanted to, and maybe I should be throwing some grease in there. Same thing right here. There are these little shoulders that the loader sits on. So this is loader, and then this is tractor, for those of you that don't know. So clearly the loader is not a consumable piece in my mind, although maybe in John Deere's it is. But absolutely, these huge chunks of steel that get bolted directly to my tractor's frame are not consumables, and I don't want them to wear down, rust up, and die. But I do live in a very arid climate, so I shouldn't be getting rust. Not like this, I guess, although it is the winter season. Hey, there goes the leaves. Get out of my driveway, leaves. Hey, what are you doing underneath my tractor, you silly muscovy? Are you laying eggs underneath there? But yeah, I'm getting some rust in some weird places. Those, I'm getting some of it right here, which is really weird. And I think that might be all the places that I saw. I mean, a lot of this tractor is plastic, and far be it from me to bemoan plastic when it's appropriate, because plastic's never going to rust. And I keep mine underneath cover all the time. And with the way that the sun tracks, it really doesn't get that much sunlight. Plus, this thing right here is actually lower than the tractor is, as you can see right here. I got a little too close. Like the second day, third day, fourth day I had Big Bad John, I wanted to park him in front here and do something, and I actually had determined that it could come up in here with the ROPS up, so I incorrectly assumed that meant that I could go anywhere underneath this thing with the ROPS up, and it tapped that board pretty good. That ROPS is solid. Now, unfortunately, this building was a little bit more solid than I thought too, and so it resisted, and I believe I came up on 2 tires. But yeah, fun time. So I like keeping this thing really, really well greased, though. It's one of those things that takes 5 minutes to do for at least the exterior loader parts, not the interior ones, although there's a very easy to hit nipple right there. You can see it because it's got a little green on it. The rest of them, you do have to slide that bolt back, and then you do have to get under the tractor for one of them in the rear there. I believe it services the differential. I could be wrong on that, don't quote me, but there's definitely one that's back up in there, and at least two up here. And I just hit that one, and I'm gonna have to get on my back to get the rest of them. I really should probably invest in one of those crawler things for doing this type of stuff, since it does, according to your manual, you need to be doing this every 10 hours. That's probably a guesstimate of the time, because if you're having it run for 10 hours while you're talking in your video and it's just staying in place, you're not going to be using up the grease as much as if you were driving it. And if your climate is disadvantageous to greasing, you're going to want to do that more often, of course. And if you're running it for 10 hours, you're probably going to want to do it a little bit more often too. We live in a very dry location, so if I can keep the dust out of the grease and keep it kind of out of the weather and not too warm, then I could probably stretch that a little bit. I'm not going to attempt to. It takes 5 minutes to do the loader portion. Might as well do that, once a week or so if you're using it. What are you doing? So I have very fun dogs. Hey, you're not made out of chocolate. But even if you were, you're a dog and you're not supposed to have that much chocolate. And there's a lot of chocolate if you were made out of chocolate. I have good puppies. So yeah, I like greasing. It makes me feel like I'm doing something, but it only takes 5 minutes and it's fairly simple. And you don't have to get this dirty. I just scooped a bunch of grease out of things, and that's how I managed to get there. And it seems like, for whatever reason, one of my joints here gets a lot nastier than the other. See, I got a stick in there. Which, there we go. Come on, get off there. Which isn't because sticks naturally end up getting sucked into my tractor. It's because they fall, because I'm driving underneath limbs constantly, trying to get back to where I'm working most of the time. So, yeah, keep sticks out of your grease. Good one. Did you have anything to end on, Alaric? What should we end on? Well, no, I can't pet you guys because I don't want grease in your fur. What, do you want some grease on you, Tom? Well, come here. I'll pet you. Yeah, I'm going to be real quiet now. Oh, no. Yep, everybody's moved over to clipping the grass over here. They're very good mowers. I think if it comes down to it, I'm just going to get more geese to mow my lawn. You guys do a really good job. That's a good note to end on. Huh, Alaric? Yes.